Hello, and welcome to another episode of Ask a Paranormal Investigator. Now, a little while ago, I was asked about using resonant frequencies in ghost hunting. I admit I don't know much about that. I will say that frequencies can have an effect on whether or not you experience a ghost. Now, to give some examples of this, what I'm going to do is talk about a time where I spent 2 weeks in the Denver County Jail as an investigator. I was investigating this one area that they were actually going to tear down and completely rebuild. It was an area that was built in the 1950s, and it was just a little bit, guess you would say, out of date. And a lot of strange things had happened in there. Both the deputy sheriffs and the inmates felt that this area of the jail was haunted. They had seen lots of different apparitions and shadow people, and always ended up with these feelings of dread that they just couldn't explain. There was a very strange number of suicides in this area as well. And so we'll talk a little bit about this and see what you think, and see what you think of the theories that have been applied to this. Now, I believe the year was 2009. When I went into the Denver County Jail. And while pushing back the equipment to this area had been cleaned out, but the rest of the jail was still in operation. And I received a lot of whistles as I went down the hallway, and that was nice to be noticed. But some of them turned a little threatening at the same time, from inmates yelling from their cells. It was a very strange experience to go walking through there. Now, the areas that I was to investigate, one was for extremely violent criminals, and the other one was for unstable criminals that had mental problems. So, kind of an interesting feel just going in, having that in the back of your mind and knowing all the strange things and the suicides. And when you think someone's not all that balanced to begin with, what might they be influenced by in jail? So these cell blocks were kind of set up as a 3-tier system. Each one of the cells had its own toilet, sink, vent, an air fan, and lights. There was a bunk bed, and just the height of comfort, to say the very least. The inmates had an interesting sort of a practice of they would hoard soap. They would use they would hoard, like I don't know where they would get them, but like little cup of soup packets and stuff, and they would use the light bulbs and the lights to heat water and make themselves a cup of soup when the deputies weren't watching. But back in the 70s, there was a deputy that was murdered by one of the inmates. And I guess that other inmates actually broke out and tried to help him. It was a very strange thing. But now they feel that area is haunted by this one particular deputy. Now, a lot of this is, I guess you'd say, classified. So I can't name names. I can't show pictures of certain things. But I can tell you that there are areas that you would just feel this overwhelming sense of dread. In this one area, the sense of dread was just so strong, I just collapsed and laid down on the floor. I couldn't get up for several minutes. There were areas in certain cells where this sort of presence was there and just hanging over you, and made you feel awful. You can see the bizarre pencil drawings that was showing up on the walls in here, not showing up because it was magic, showing up because the inmates were drawing them. And everybody had converted to Christianity, apparently, but a lot of them were haunted by demons that just hung over them. And it was freaky to see these. So there's these catwalks that go behind the cells. There's cells on both, sides of a wall, and you can walk down the center in between these two walls, and there's the backs of the cells are on the walls. I noticed that if you you could turn off the fan that's, on the other side of the wall. And when I turned off some of these fans inside of that cell, suddenly it felt normal again. It felt perfectly fine. It seemed that what was happening was there was one large air moving fan in one part of the building, a big squirrel cage that just really shook the building, made the building vibrate at a very low frequency. You couldn't hear it, couldn't feel it. And then with these smaller fans, they would create a different frequency, and it would cause this harmonic. And that harmonic would fry your brain in a sense. But I can get into a little bit more of that. There have been studies to show the effects of vibration on the human body and our perception. And it's very interesting when you dig into this on what can happen. Now, when people in their homes are claiming that they see shadow people, one of the things that I've noticed is often they will have something in their home, something mechanical like an air conditioner or a furnace or something that at times will shake the entire house at a certain frequency. And it's at that time that, they don't really notice that at the time. You have to have them take notes on when things are happening, but they will see shadow people during that time. And the reason is, the believed reason at this point, is that frequency is just at the right place where it'll cause the fluid in your eye to vibrate just enough that you see something in your peripheral vision. And when you look, it's gone. That's why they always claim that shadow people are so fast. You see them and you look and they're gone. They just zip right out of your way. That's because your entire head is moving and it goes with it. So that vibration in your eye can cause shadow people. Now, of course, it can cause those feelings of dread that I was feeling in the jail. And sound has played a huge impact. Vibration has played a huge impact on so many investigations. There's investigations. I was at the Yak and Yeti restaurant, which we've talked about on this channel before on this playlist, and was doing a show with a local radio show. They were there for their Halloween show and had a big table set up, and there were drinks on the table. And then all of a sudden, this one drink just started to glide across the table. Now, I knew what had caused it, but they didn't, and they freaked out, and they had a great time, talking about this on the radio, and people listening at home were riveted over this paranormal event that happened right there. All it was the glass was sweating a bit because cold water with ice in it. It was sweating a bit. The bottom was a little moist. There was enough vibration from people walking around, from air moving, things like furnaces, air conditioners, things like that in the building, that it just vibrated right across the table. There was just enough of a slope at the table. You couldn't perceive it, looking at it, but it was there. So it moved across the table and caused quite a reaction. So yeah, it's sound and vibration play a huge part in people's perception of the paranormal. And while it can be explained the majority of the time, you have to be aware that if you're experiencing something, is there a vibration going on in your environment that could be contributing to what you're perceiving? It's a good idea to keep your head on straight and not let it vibrate off your shoulders. Once again, smash the like button, and we'll see you next time on Ask a Paranormal Investigator.